Hi, Ben here and welcome back to the workshop for another Work in Progress Wednesday. So today what I'm working on is I'm taking this paper design that's got some modifications for a custom build that I'm working on, and you could use a paper pattern, but what I tend to do is take that paper pattern and then transfer it and make it into a hard pattern that I can make the initial blade from, but then I've always got that pattern to refer to. So I'm going to show you how I take that paper design and turn it into a steel template basically. So we've come over to the bench where I've got my big granite surface plate, and this is where I tend to keep most of my patterns. So you can see we've got a few patterns laying on here already. So we've got the 4-inch trapper that we've used recently, so that's still on the bench. And then we've got the Bushmuck XL, and then another modification of a Bushmuck that was just with a same handle as the standard Bushmuck but with a 4.5-inch blade. And then we've also got a few variations of the Campcraft knife. So one gentleman wanted the Campcraft handle but with a pixie size and style of blade on it. This is the original pixie, so you can see that it's foreshortened it quite a bit. And then another gentleman wanted a 4.5-inch blade version of the Campcraft, so that's the pattern for that. And then this particular one that we're going to be working on today is again another modification. They've already got a Campcraft, but they want to have a slightly longer handle. So this is going to have a 5-inch handle on it, and then having played around with a few different blade lengths on it, we're going to go for the 3.5-inch blade on this particular model. So you could, like I say, use this paper pattern straight off and make it into a blade, but then if you want to make any modifications or you want to make any changes or you want to make another blade in the future, you won't have your pattern. So I tend to take that paper pattern and turn it straight into a hard pattern, and you could use cardboard, you could use hardboard, but I'm going to transfer that straight to a piece of steel purely because I've got steel in the workshop. It then means I've got tools that are able to work with the steel, and then I've got a blank that if I'm totally happy with it, I can then heat treat it, harden it, and then I've got a hardened drilling pattern that will never ever wear out. So yeah, it's kind of useful really. So first thing that I've got to do is get this bit of paper onto a piece of steel before I start cutting it out. So I've got my piece of tool steel. This is a bit of 01 tool steel, and this is 2.5mm thick. Obviously the thinner it is, the easier it is to cut out that template, but pros and cons: the thicker the blank that you make, the thicker the material will be, so it will be a bit more accurate for spotting the holes, but I'm going to go for 2.5. And what I've done is I've roughly cut out the pattern with a pair of scissors. Obviously you can be as accurate as you want to at this stage with the scissors. And then you've got to get that stuck on there. Now, until very recently I used to use like spray mount, which works fine, but the heat generated when you actually start grinding it and things, it does tend to come off, I've found. So what I've actually started using now is actually just using some super glue and some activator, and that seems to hold it on there really nicely and prevent it from coming off with the heat that builds up when you're actually grinding it and cutting it. So I'm going to put a bit of the super glue on there and stick that down to that bit of steel. So we've come over to my little Portaband bandsaw, and this will just about cope with cutting this length of blade really before it hits this back part. So it's a bit noisy, so I'll turn it on and I'll just show you how I go about cutting out that rough shape. So we've got that blade rough profiled on the bandsaw. You might have seen how I was cutting little notches in there to remove the excess. That's because the blade is 1/2 inch wide on this. You can't run any narrower blades on this because of the bearings and the guides on it. So you can't do very tight turns, but that's one of the ways around it really, is to cut those little notches and then hack off the lumps really. But that's pretty much got the worst of the material off, and certainly a lot quicker than having to use a hand hacksaw. But now what we can do is we can take that through into the grinding room and clean up that profile a bit. So we've come through into the grinding room and we've set up the 2x72 grinder in here, and this is where I keep my old worn out abrasives. This is perfect for rough profiling these blades. Before you start, fit a tool rest, and this is the important part. Make sure that that is square to your platen face, because you want to make sure that these scribe lines and these profiles are all dead square to this flat surface really. So make sure that's nice and square. Don't run it too fast. Make sure you got good light, because we want to grind pretty much right up and kiss that pen line from our original template. Don't grind beyond it, and obviously have a push stick as well, that'll help. So we'll give this one a bit of a go and get some of that worst of that material off. So we finally came over to the horizontal grinder. This is one of my Radius Masters, but flipped into the horizontal position. And with these tool rests fitted, I can then clean up the profile, getting really nice smooth transitions around those curves, but everything really nice and square. And also it puts all the scratch patterns running from the butt to the tip of the knife. At this stage it doesn't really matter about the overall look, but what you'll find is that you'll get much smoother curves grinding it in that direction than grinding it vertically that we had on the other grinder. So yeah, that's pretty much cleaned up. We've pretty much hit our marks and all our pen lines. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, and it's already starting to feel like a proper knife. You can, at this stage, hold it, see if there's any bits that don't feel quite right, and then you can just trim off or adjust or grind until it just fits your hand perfectly. So yeah, that's feeling pretty good now. So we've come back over to the surface plate, and as you probably see, I decided that I wasn't actually going to grind to the 3.5 inch drawing that we've got on here. I've left it to the full 4 inch. Keep it long, and then basically what I can do is I can use this pattern to obviously make the larger version, and then if we need the shorter versions, then I can just shorten the blade length, but the handle pretty much will stay the same, and obviously the hole positions and things like that. So that's the only thing that I've changed, but that's the advantage of leaving those drawings on there, so you can sort of chop and change, and proportionally wise I think it actually almost looks better slightly longer. So I'm leaving it as that at the moment. Now at this stage it's up to you. You could actually use a bit of acetone and take off this paper pattern if you wanted to. What I'm probably going to do is I'm just going to leave it on there for the time being, and I'm just going to mark things out on this side just so that you can see how I sort of go about positioning things. So the first thing that I want to try and do is get the sort of centre marked really. Now I am rubbish at maths, always have been, always will be. So this is my sort of saviour really, a vernier gauge. It doesn't have to be a digital one, it can be an analog one, but this really helps me because yeah, like I say, I can't do division. So to help me find that centre line, first thing that I can do is I can measure the sort of, I normally measure this narrowest section here near the sort of finger guard. So measure that. So that's sort of 27. Like I say, I am rubbish at maths, so I can divide 28, so I make it 28. So half of 28 is 14. So basically slide this to 14. Doesn't have to be super duper accurate, but somewhere there. There you go, that'll do. Now, that's got a little locking nut. Now that is a godsend. If you can get one with a locking nut on it, that's going to really help you. But what I can do now is I can rest the one jaw of the vernier gauge, and then I can run it along that profile, and what that will do is it will scribe a centre line on there for me. You might not be able to see it very clearly. I mean, if you wanted to, you could even put a bit of marker pen or a bit of layout fluid on there to help you see it, but at this stage I don't want it to get it too confusing really. So that's one side marked, so we'll scribe it across the other side. And because this is soft annealed tool steel at the moment, it's actually cutting in there pretty good. So you can see now we've got these lines that sort of bisect each other. So that is the dead centre, and obviously the dead centre is in the middle of those two lines. So as I say, I am rubbish at division and maths, so already that has saved me doing any kind of complicated division. So that's got my centre line marked. And then it's pretty much up to you then, aesthetic wise, where you're going to position these holes. I know from my sort of previous designs that I have about sort of 8mm beyond that sort of finger guard. So you can even use a previous pattern to help lay things out. But what I've got on the other side, obviously this is the advantage of not taking that pattern off, is I can mark those positions just with a pen, like so. And then I can use some kind of curve to line up those edges, and that will sort of show me where the front of my handle is going to go, just like that. And then I normally make sure that I don't come any closer than an inch for my pinholes to that front line. If you go any closer than that, you'll find that if you put a ramped front to your handle scales and things, that the holes for your pins will break through that and it will look really ugly. So I normally go about an inch back. So I'm basically going to use my vernier gauge again to set all those various measurements. I'll zero that again. So like I say, I'll start off with an inch, 25mm, something like that. Without overshooting it too much. It's quite difficult doing it through a camera lens. And then I can put that that scratch mark pretty much where I want it. So you can see that that's now got a scratch line between that scribed line. So that's pretty much, if I hit that mark now, that will be in the centre and the right distance back from the front of my handle. So we'll mark that. Probably I'm not going to centre pop it just yet. I'm going to make sure that I've got the sort of the look of it about right. So just to help me see it, I'm just going to mark that. And then for this back one, like you can, if you've got previous blades, you can use those as a reference. You could even lay them on if you wanted to and mark through, but you know, you can play around to make it actually suit the pattern every time just by taking sort of measurements. So with this one, I know that the proportions look about right with the position for this hole from the rear of the knife here, so I can actually measure that. So that's about 36mm, and I can scratch that on there. But you sort of get the idea now how you can use these vernier gauges to help position those. Now the main key is, now that we've got that hole marked, is we can divide these again. So if we measure that distance, so that is 65, so that is 32.5, isn't it really? Well, 36, so 33. See what I mean? I'm not good at numbers. So 33. There's, damn it. So then we can mark our centre hole, scribing back from those two positions, and that will give our centre mark just there. So already with using that simple method of scribing your centre mark and using the vernier gauge, you can pretty much position everything as you want it. Now these holes will be our pin holes for our handle fixing methods. I tend to use loveless bolts. I tend to put a thong tube in the back here as well, so we'll mark that out. And then these holes that I put in the middle of the blade, which you can probably see on this one, these are for weight reduction and also to help the epoxy bond the handle scales on. So they will be bigger, but it's nice if you can position them proportionally and centrally in the blade, because you don't want it to create any weak spots. You still want plenty of strength. So lay them out really neat and it will pay sort of dividends in the end, really. And what I find really helps me sort of visualize is I actually get the size of hardware that I'm going to be using and actually position them over those holes. So I'm going to have my 2 1/4-inch loveless bolts like that, and then I'm going to have my thong tube up this end like that, and pretty much put them on those scribe lines. And at that point you can really see whether it's going to look good, the finished result. If you suddenly realise that you've got this up here or something like that, it really stands out really clearly and you can see it's not going to work, or if it's going to collide with some other parts. So I can pretty much see that that is going to look pretty good. This isn't too close to the front of the handle, these aren't too close, and we've got these positioned nice and central here as well. So these will be great for our weight reduction holes. So yeah, I'm pretty much happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is I can remove those, and then I can just use a centre pop. You can use an automatic one or this sort of traditional one to actually line up that position onto your centre line that you've scribed and your sort of pen mark if you put it on there, and just give it a little tap and it will put a little divot in there, and that's going to help us locate when we start drilling. So we've come through to the drilling room, and I've got various drills set up with different drill sizes. I tend to use a 4mm drill for my fixings, and at this stage I only want 4mm holes in them. Even though these are going to be bigger, the lanyard's going to be 6.5, and obviously the weight reduction holes are going to be bigger. Because this is a pattern, I just want the smallest holes, so we're going to use this 4mm drill and drill all those holes out. So there you go, we've got all our holes drilled in there, and we even countersunk them slightly as well, so there's no burrs, because this wants to stay dead flat when we put this and clamp it onto our blade steel that we're going to use, so that when we drill and mark those holes, it's all going to lay nice and flat and perfect. So that's pretty much it. That's how you take your drawing, your sketch, and turn it into an actual pattern that you can then clamp onto a piece of steel and actually make, well, hundreds, potentially hundreds of knives from that one pattern, especially if we go on and heat treat that and make it hard. But what I would do is I'd actually make a couple of blades from this, check that all those hole positions are absolutely perfect, and if you have got to make any sort of modifications, you can still do it at that stage, because this is still soft at that stage. But yeah, hope that's been useful to all you knife makers out there, and remember to subscribe to the channel, and we will see you next week for another Work in Progress Wednesday.